And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection with host Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Created in 1932 by Rotary and Herbert Taylor, the four-way test is one of the world's most widely printed and quoted statements in business ethics. We begin today's Open Connection with District Governor for Rotary, Shirley Pat.
Sitali Shirley Pat Gale, Klaskoni Nagone Dene. So I am a proud and adopt member of the Tusi First Nations. I'm also adopted by my late father, who is of Quilupi descent, and we are also exploring the discoveries of our Métis connection, as my great-great-grandmother passed down a sash that we have carried in our family for close to 75 years. I grew up and was born in Anishinaabe territory in a little place called Geraldton, which is north of Thunder Bay, or Thunder Bay as other people like to call it, in beautiful, what's now known as Northern Ontario. I was a competitive figure skater as a kid, so I followed my figure skating partner, as there's not many boys at that point in skating, to beautiful British Columbia, and I grew up as a teenager in Enderby and in Salmon.
When did you first get involved with Rotary?
Oh, so when I was just about 16, I had a choice in English class to either write a poetry or something called a four-way essay contest, and that had a $500 prize.
Sounds like there was almost like a meeting of principles of yours and Rotary, is that correct?
It is. It was very much about a value alignment. So when I went away after high school to skate competitively at the national level and soon discovered life outside the arena. I did 2 degrees, 2 undergraduate degrees, and moved to Japan to teach English as a second language, because I'm going to tell you there weren't many roles for historians or classicists at that time. And when I came back, I moved to a little place called Williams Lake, British Columbia, the home of the Northern Secwepemc people, as well as a service hub, as you know, for the Chilcotin and Lake Dene as well. And so my mom was a Rotarian. You'll meet my Bro-Star student who's on this journey with me, and my mom voluntold both of us into Rotary about a month apart. And what I discovered in interacting with these people is, like you said, there was a principle alignment, a value alignment, but more importantly, what our founder, Paul Harris, started the organization for. They were friends who have now become family. About 5 years ago, I moved to what I call the back of beyond. So I live in a little place called Seymour Arm, which is in Silken Secwepemc territory at the very northwest tip of the Shuswap Lake. So shout out to everybody who has lost all their homes, to all of the beautiful firefighters and first responders that have helped, and just tons of shout out to the Rotary family for supporting roads that were adversely impacted by all the wildfires this year across our beautiful province. Currently I am District 5040's District Governor. And so what that means, Robert, is that I have the opportunity of serving and supporting over 3,000 volunteers, age 15 to 95, from Prince Rupert all the way down, and we take kind of I guess it would be a right, just before Cache Creek, head down into Pemberton, down Whistler, and along the Sunshine Coast, and then all of Vancouver. And I have the opportunity of being their bridge and their support to the larger Rotary International, which has been around for 117 years and has over 1.4 million members around the world. I'm very fortunate because I'm actually a virtual Rotary member. I belong to a Rotary club in Steveston, even though I live a 10-hour drive from my club. The joy of the pandemic, I think one of the greatest tools that we've brought out of it was this ability to connect and be included in things despite our geographic diversity, which, as you know, once you sort of are north of Hope and what we now call British Columbia, you're going to do a little driving. So having the ability to connect with all of these wonderful individuals across this vast territory has been just a delight, and has meant that Rotary didn't stop doing service. We just had to figure out how to do it differently. And so we're trying to bring that hybrid, or that, I like to call it VIP, virtual and in person, because everybody likes to be a VIP, notions forward.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Herbert Taylor's 24-word test for employees to follow in their business and professional lives became the guide for sales, production, advertising, and all relations with dealers and customers. Let us return the conversation with Ron Malmas.
Currently, I am the Rotary Northwest Assistant Governor, and I am District Governor Partner this year for my wonderful sister, who's our current District Governor. I'm from the Fraser Valley originally, so I was born in a little good old town called Murrayville, which is now Langley, and slowly made my way up through the interior, working in a couple of communities. Williams Lake was my home for a number of years, where actually I joined Rotary. And then I've been in Terrace now. Live here for the last 6.5 years. First job out of high school was actually the day after graduation. My father said, there's a plane ticket, you get to Vancouver Airport, you're flying to Calgary, you got a job, you're working in a subdivision, you're making a subdivision. You're gonna do construction labor, and it's gonna be good for you. I remember I got fired 8 times in one day.
8 times?
Yeah, and it wasn't my fault at all. He was taking and venting out on everybody else. But he just said, you're fired. And then I go back, what are you doing? Get back to work. So it was all good, great memories.
So did you stay in construction or?
No, I ran as fast. As a matter of fact, no, I came back after a season of working in construction and was offered an opportunity to care for people who society isn't always trained to care for. So I work in the funeral profession.
Kind of an unusual career to, I guess you could say, to pick, but it's something that that is, really needed, and you got to be that person with that mindset. You can't just, just kind of.
I still don't know why they chose me, but I will say 45 years later, I still love getting up in the morning to go to work, because I get to meet people who I'd never meet and get to hear stories about fabulous people who had walked the earth.
How did you get introduced, I guess you say, to Rotary?
Oh, that would be through my Rotary mama. Mama Nancy, she was the executive director for the Williams Lake Child Development Center, and I was offered a position on the board. And the very first meeting that I went to, she goes, what do you do for community? Nothing. Good, you're going to Rotary and you're signed up. And within 4 months I was their president-elect in training, and good boy, you're following, and I just did what Mom said, we were voluntold, and away we went.
So with Rotary, a lot of people say, they don't know what's behind those doors. What happens at a Rotary meeting?
Oh, a lot of secret things. There's the handshakes going like this and this, and we can't give it away.
Oh, yeah.
But there's all these neat things. Kidding aside, Rotary meetings, Rotary breakfast, Rotary lunch, Rotary suppers, Rotary whatever, is a group of people, community members, who have gotten together to support one another in local and global projects and initiatives, but also to have fellowship and fun. And that's a big thing we lose today, especially in our business society. We're too busy to have fellowship. We forget about having the fun in business. And that's where it all started, and 117 years ago, with Rotary's start in Paul Harris, the gentleman who moved to Chicago. I want some friends. I don't know anybody, but I want to talk to lawyers. So he met 3 other people. Rotary got the name because they rotated their meetings. Whenever they'd meet, it would be somebody else's office. So that's where Rotary got the name of rotating your meetings.
And did you find when you went from, I guess, position or career changes and locations that you could always go to Rotary?
Always. No matter where it is. And especially traveling in the countryside and around the world. Just show up and say, hi, I'm a Rotary. I've got my Rotary. No matter if you don't speak the language. oh, come, you're in, no matter who you are. And that's a wonderful thing.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. In the 1940s, Herbert Taylor offered the four-way test to the organization, and it was adopted by Rotary for its internal and promotional use. Never changed, the 24-word test remains today a central part of permanent Rotary structure throughout the world. Let us join the conversation as Shirley and Ron discuss Rotary's theme, planting the seeds of peace and hope in our communities.
So in April 2024, or actually I'll back up. So as the sitting district governor, I get the opportunity, right Ron, to throw a celebration of all the service that these amazing 3,000 volunteers-ish from Prince Rupert all the way down, meandering through the beautiful mountains of Whistler in Vancouver and along the Sunshine Coast have done to create hope in the world.
And how are we going to do that?
Well, I think we should keep late District Governor of Awesomeness Dave Hamilton's word.
Good idea.
And because you're in Terrace and actually live in our district and aren't wily like I am and live in the back of Beyond, what do you think about throwing a celebration in Terrace and keeping our word and our partnership with the lovely Nisga'a Nation through our great friend Bobby Clark and doing a little bit of a cultural exchange? So what about starting here and going there?
That'd be cool. So bringing all our Rotarians in our district to Terrace to celebrate in Terrace and the NAS. I think that's awesome.
Right, so we get to have a day on the first day where there'll be a parallel conference where we'll have youth leading youth so that we can care for our future and ensure that IDEA is grounded fully in how they perceive what the next steps and the future for Rotary is. And for those that don't know, IDEA is inclusion, right? Diversity, equity, and access.
Yes.
And parallel that by celebrating on Kitsim-Kalim and Tsimshian territory with about 200 Rotarians, the same kind of things, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to make them sit all day?
No. The last thing we want to do is sit.
Right.
You know, we're party people. We move about. A lot of action. People have action. So yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Who's going to help you steward the day? Tell us a little bit about who you've arranged to help you steward the day.
My wonderful Master of Ceremonies associate is going to be Mrs. Global World Canada, Lorelei Higgins. So it's a pleasure to have her coming back to our area. She was our Master of Ceremonies actually the year that we were going to have the district conference here. So yeah, so Lorelei has agreed to come back. And then she's gone from Mrs. Canada now to Mrs. Global World Canada.
And so for those of you that don't know, Lorelei is also a Rotary Peace Scholar. And perhaps maybe unlike some other beauty queens who hold some amazing titles in that global world, she actually lives and breathes the pursuit of peace.
Yes.
And like me, believes, right? Peace is the soil within which hope grows. So I'm very excited for the two of you. And then we're going to have 4 speakers, correct?
Yes.
And our last one is on access, and I'm so excited.
So our very good friend Mark Wafer is going to be coming from Ontario, and he is going to speak on accessibility in the workplace and in the living place. And Mark, he's hearing impaired himself, and is one of the most gifted people and friends I've got in the Rotary world.
So if anybody would like to know a little bit more about Mark Wafer, Google him and Google accessibility in Canada. The company that he and his wife runs is amazing. For years they had multiple Tim Hortons franchises across Toronto,
yes.
And all of their staff members had either a visible or, like myself, a hidden disability. So for those that don't know, the reason accessibility is so important to me, and I know to you, is because being neurodivergent and having neurodivergent challenges such as dyslexia or other things means that, you know, not every space is accessible, but Rotary is, and the more we can encourage that, the more I think it creates diversity, inclusion, and belonging.
That's Rotary growing and changing and evolving.
Yeah.
As we, you know, why not Are we going to be talking about mental health and things during the conference? Because I know that's big this year in Rotary too.
It's huge. The care and compassion of our members so that they can care and create hope in the world is so integral. Because if we don't fill our own cup, we don't fill the cups of others. And in order to do that and to give people a grounding, not just in the mental or the physical, but also in the emotional and spiritual, to make sure that our medicine wheel is really well balanced.
Right.
I'm so excited that on the second day, we're going to put everybody on a bus. And every bus is going to have an elder or a storyteller. And you're going to get stories throughout the Nass Valley. And as we leave Shimsham and Kitsim-Kalem territory and we travel across, right, those beautiful lava fields, the places that you and I have explored. And we're going to go into the Nisga'a Nation with the supportive mediators Beyond Border International and our trained Rotary peace facilitated conversationalists. And we're going to have a facilitated peace conversation between members of all the Nisga'a communities and these Rotarians, Rotaractors, and Interactors that will join us for the conference.
That's awesome. Now, peace conversation. Peace comes in many different. You say peace. Is it peace, or how do we describe that conversation that we're having? Is so people don't go.
Right. So that it has a big title, and what this framework is it's a framework that Mediators Beyond Border International uses all around the world, particularly in spaces and places maybe of contention or where there's uncertainty or an unknowing. And what we know because of the way that Canada was formed and the history of this country and the province that we now call British Columbia, the wholesale ceding of the territory not in accordance with international law and the continued settler colonialism that exists in our everyday lived experience, both as Indigenous and non, means that there's not often opportunities or spaces for settlers in particular to have experiences culturally in community.
Right.
And or to have, or how to know how to have conversations when they are dealing with the emotionality that comes with the understanding of how our country was formed. In ways maybe not how your generation was normalized. It certainly started to come in when I was in high school.
Right.
Luckily for our interactors, it's normalized. They're part of their piece. But having a structured conversation with agreements that are based both on international principles of peace mediation, but also on the traditional teachings of the Nisga'a elders.
That's so cool.
Together we created a series of protocols and agreements that we start the conversation on. And basically it's just a way for everybody to have a safe space to express themselves and to come possibly to opportunities for collaboration, for what I like to call the opportunity to participate together so that we can possibly create partnership and share the power that currently may be very uneven in our country.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
According to Rotary 5040 website, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Code of Conduct asks you to use respectful language, be supportive, foster a welcoming, inclusive environment, and celebrate diversity. In this final segment of Open Connection, Shirley and Ron discuss the visit to the Nass Valley.
That's awesome. And we're going to be going up the Nass on Friday.
No, Friday we're here. Saturday we're going up the Nass.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're going to meet with Bobby Clark up there,
yes,
and that's exciting. And he's going to be a part of assisting us in that whole day.
He is basically our co-facilitator for the whole day. There's going to be a storytelling and a cultural experience. I'm so excited. And a feast, right? Can't forget the food. Don't ever forget the food.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Right.
So you know me, I like to have that good food. So I think this is just going to be an exciting time. We have our hotels here in Terrace. Two of our hotels are booking up right now that we're having our day in.
Yeah, so we're trying to also share the resources that Rotary is bringing to Terrace among as many of the local businesses we can. So currently we'll both be having some pieces of the Days Inn on Friday, and then our Saturday night will be at the old Gold Digger in the bottom of the Best Western.
Oh, the Best Western Hotel. I heard about that. I haven't lived here long enough to really get into that part of it, but
I did learn this morning that some of your club members met their spouses there back in the day. So I know it's got some love, and might also help us with the diversity, equity, inclusion through love is love.
There you go. It could be. And I think it's going to be a fabulous time. So Friday night we might be doing a dining out experience.
Yeah, so April 26th through the 28th. The 26th, as we said, will be in Terrace at the Days Inn, and then we're going to do a dine around town to give Rotarians, Rotaractors, and Interactors, everybody who's participating, a chance to sample some of the amazing restaurants.
Oh, we've got good
You
food.
got some good food in Terrace. I was going
Yeah.
to say you got some good food in Terrace. And like I said, then we're out in the Nisga'a Nation and then back to have a little party Saturday night. And our hope Sunday morning, maybe this is a shout out to the firefighters, is we're going to see if the firefighters will make us a pancake breakfast so that we can also support the local firefighters and what they do, and pray for a good April day.
I think you just put them on the spot there.
I may have just a little bit. But I know that, they make a good pancake and they are always looking for funds. The epic wildfire season again this year across British Columbia and our neighbors down in what's now called Washington just tells us just how much those first responders also require our support, both financially but also emotionally, mentally, and physically as well.
Exactly. I've recently just experienced down in Whitsett, spending some time down in Whitsett, the fires down there, but you actually live in the middle of all the fires and have been evacuated and back and forth, so yeah, our heart goes out to everybody there.
So anyway, we can involve the first responders in any of the work Rotary does. It's just so key. So I just want to say thank you to the Shimshan, the Kids and Kalim, and the Nisga'a people for being so welcoming in all of the territories that surround what we now call Terrace, and just for making us feel like not only is this a possibility, but that we are truly your partners and that we're sharing power in a way that will give these predominantly non-Indigenous members of the Rotary family an experience that many of them have not, like you and I, had the opportunity to be in community.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't create peace and you can't have reconciliation without having difficult conversations. And that is the hope that although we may have some difficult conversations, that we can come out the other side with a better understanding of the life that each live and how we can create bridges and pathways, or as His Honor says, find those shoals in the river that we can cross, so that we can maybe help each other out as we're both paddling our canoes in a parallel path towards reconciliation.
And just you were saying that, paddling your canoes in a far path, His Honor also said to us, if you're not paddling in the same direction, you're hitting each other with your paddles, and your canoe's just going around in a circle, you're not going to be any earthly good to the water. So that's a really positive way of thinking and looking forward to peace.
A new hope has been kindled in the breasts of the millions who are voiceless, oppressed, dispossessed. You and I are made for goodness. We are the ones God enlists to help make this world a better place.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.